All right, well, I'm just uploading some videos about some things that I posted on Facebook because sometimes people, they just won't read them, but they might listen to a video. And so I heard the other day somebody make a comment about the fact that the offering of Cain was not acceptable because it wasn't a blood offering, but Abel's was acceptable because it was a lamb, and that's a blood sacrifice for sin, and that's why it was accepted. Now, I've heard that many times, probably in the past 30 years, half a dozen or so at least. So I've heard this. I've heard this from church leaders, from school leaders, from teachers, ministries that will explain that and exhort people about that offering of Cain versus Abel. And so they say that because Cain's did not have blood, sorry, Cain. But Abel, hey, buddy, good job. Awesome. However, it is imperative that you and I understand that neither of their offerings was a sin offering. And you can know that for certain by looking at the words that are used in Scripture for the different offerings. Rather, their offerings were a gift offering, which could be an animal. And therefore, it could include blood, but that does not make it a sin offering. But it was usually bloodless. And because it was a gift offering and not a sin offering, it was voluntary. I've heard such things even from really great ministries, one that I love. I literally just heard Ken Ham say this the other day from Answers in Genesis. And so God bless you, Ken, and all that you do. But me personally, brother, I think you're mistaken on this. So I simply want to pass this on and encourage those who study and to teach to do their due diligence as God's stewards of His Word so that we are not miscommunicating what is inspired. And if you have something that I need to know about this, let me know. So just some of the words that are common with sacrifices in the Old Testament, and I'm just going to make a point of reference with Strong's numbers. So you have Strong's number 2076. And that's the word for sacrifices. And it's a very general word. It just means to slaughter or to sacrifice. And there's lots of different varying kinds and reasons. That is not the word that is used in Genesis chapter 4. Now you have Strong's number 4503. Now this is the word for a gift offering. This is a gift, a present, a tribute, or some kind of offering. It's a gift of any kind. It could be grain that's raw, roasted, ground to flour, or prepared as bread or cakes. The authorized version says it's a meat offering. The revised version calls it a meal offering. And so when it's talking about grain, it can be any of those things, or it can be an animal. However, even Strong says that usually it's bloodless and voluntary, and that's a direct quote. The definition thereof, of this word, never uses the word sin, except in Leviticus 5, verses 11 through 13, where it's talking about people who are poor and use an offering, which is actually Strong's number 7133, talking about an oblation, but using grain as a sin offering. So this word is never, ever used to describe a sin offering, ever. And this is the word that's used in Genesis chapter 4. When it says that Cain brought an offering, it means gift offering. It's this word, 4503. And when it says that Cain's was not accepted and Abel's was accepted, the two words for offering in that verse, they're the same word. It's the word for gift offering. Now, if we continue on, we talk about 2403, that is the word for sin offering. Now, ironically enough, while in Genesis 4:5, it does, in 4:3 through 4:5, it does not use the word for sin offering. Afterwards, in Genesis 4:7, that's the word that's used to describe sin lies at the door. So this word, which is minka, 2403, the Strong's number, is the word for sin or a sin offering. And it means a sinful thing, sin, or a sin offering. It's used in Genesis 4:7. Now, this is not the gift offering of Cain in Genesis 4:3, or the gift offering of Abel that God looked on with favor in Genesis 4:4, or the gift offering of Cain that God had no regard for in Genesis 4:5. But it is the word that is used for the sin, or the sin offering, that lies or crouches at the door in Genesis 4:7. And to see how that word crouch or lies is used, the same word is used in Genesis 49:14, speaking of, I believe, a donkey. So this word for a sin offering, is used after Genesis 4:7 only 4 times before it is used in Exodus 29:14 as the sin offering that Israel is instructed to give for their sin. The 4 times are Genesis 18:20, talking about Sodom and Gomorrah's sin. Genesis 31:36, talking about where Jacob is questioning Laban, what sin of mine, do I have that you pursue me for? And to be honest, he was a manipulator. He manipulated Laban, though Laban kind of deserved it. And Rachel stole one of his idols. It's used in Genesis 50:17 as the sin of Joseph's brothers that they said Jacob wanted Joseph to forgive them of, which is kind of doubtful, I think, but can't be absolutely certain about that. And then it's used in Exodus 10:17 of Pharaoh's sin, that he asks Moses to forgive him after the locusts. So it's used 4 times. This word sin offering, minka, is used 4 times between Genesis 4:7, where it talks about the sin lies at the door. Not the offerings that Abel and Cain made, but the sin that lies at the door. And Exodus 29:14, the sin offering. Now there are a couple others that really have nothing to do with any of those, but I just figured I'd include them. You have Strong's 5930, Ola, which is a burnt or ascending offering. This means ascent. It's a whole burnt offering that goes up to heaven. Strong says the word means a step or a collection of steps in the plural, usually a holocaust, something that goes up in smoke. And that's why it's a worship. It's an ascending offering. It's a total burnt offering. Then there's Strong's 8002, Shalem, which is a peace offering, a sacrifice for alliance or friendship. Strong says that this is a voluntary sacrifice and thanks. You have 8641, the Teruma, which is a heave offering. It's a contribution. It's an offering that's for sacred uses. Strong says it's a present offered up as a sacrifice or tribute, often referred to as the shoulder offering, where the priest would receive a part of that. And then, of course, one of the ones that I already mentioned, which was 7133, Corban, which is an offering or an oblation, and Strong mentions that it's something that's brought near to the altar. It's a sacrificial present. So, just something to spark your interest, maybe get you to look at those words a few more times, look where they're used in Scripture. That's what we do. We find a word, we find out where that word is used in other Scriptures, and then we look it up and see how God talks about it, see how God uses it, how it relates with other passages, and that's how we learn, what God is saying. But just to make the point one more time, that the gift offering 4503 is not the sin offering 2403, Strong's numbers, and the sin offering is not what Cain or Abel offer. It is only used in Genesis 4:7 as the sin that lies at the door. What Cain and Abel offer is a gift offering, not a sin offering. Blood or no blood, it's a gift offering. So, just thought this might encourage you, spur you on to study. Pray that God blesses you. Take care.